During the new year, my younger brother set off firecrackers and ended up blowing off both his legs. The doctor said that only amputation could save his life. Upon hearing this, my mother fainted on the spot, and my father was wringing his hands, at a loss for what to do, for the sake of my brother's safety. I made the decision to have his legs amputated. As a result, I became the sinner in their eyes, the one who ruined my brother's life. My brother, with reddened eyes, said fiercely, "You've destroyed me, made it impossible for me to live a normal life." My parents, wiping their tears, said, "It's all because of you. You've ruined our plan to rely on our children for old age. They eat my food, drink my drinks, leech off me, and even want me to pay for a wife for my brother to carry on the family line." I disagreed, and my brother threatened to jump off a building. I rushed over to stop him, but he pushed me off the rooftop instead. I heard the hatred in his voice. "My life is ruined, and I won't let you have it easy either." When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day my brother was injured in the explosion. I was still in a daze when I received the call from my father. "Your mom has fainted, and now you're the only one the whole family can rely on, sweetie. Come to the hospital quickly." My dad's voice was filled with anxiety as he said, "The doctor wants to amputate my brother Theo Xiao's leg." "Sweetie, what are we going to do about your brother? He's the only boy in our family. If his leg is amputated, how will he get through life?" But the doctor said that if we don't amputate, he could be in life-threatening danger. Seeing that I wasn't responding, my father yelled into the phone, "Xiao Pan, say something." Only then did I snap out of my shock. My name is Xiao Pan, and the character Pan in my name carries my parents' earnest hopes for their son, Theo Xiao. Their youngest son, born in their later years, is a high school student and the apple of the family's eye. This year's New Year's Eve, fireworks were restricted in our area, but just across the river, the neighboring county was filled with the sound of firecrackers. Naturally, Theo Xiao couldn't resist and insisted on going to the other side to set off fireworks. This year's New Year's Eve, fireworks were banned in our area, but just across the river. The neighboring county was alive with the booming of firecrackers. Theo Xiao couldn't hold back and insisted on setting off fireworks across the street. His parents always indulged him, so my dad immediately went to buy fireworks and let him set them off secretly at the corner of the hallway. But Theo Xiao was not one to do things discreetly. He and a few friends stuffed firecrackers everywhere, and in the end, they even threw a double-kick firework into a manhole cover. The massive shockwave from the explosion sent Theo Xiao and several children flying. They were all injured, with Theo Xiao's injuries being the most severe. In my previous life, my mother also fainted upon hearing that her precious son needed an amputation. My father was at a loss, only repeating, "What should we do?" I rushed to the hospital and, after carefully understanding the situation, resolutely said, "Amputation. We are willing to proceed with the amputation." In the end, Theo Xiao survived the amputation, but my nightmare began from that moment. Theo Xiao woke up, realized he had lost both legs, and immediately flew into a rage, smashing everything in the hospital room. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "My leg, give me back my leg," to divert his anger. My parents unhesitatingly shifted the blame onto me. "Theo, we never agreed to the amputation. It was your sister who made the decision without our consent." My mother cried, "That's right, it's all her fault. The doctor only suggested amputation, but she insisted on it. She must be jealous that you're doing better than her." My father chimed in, "I don't understand why I, a 25-year-old with a decent job, would be jealous of a high school kid, yet my parents placed all the blame on me. They accused me of overstepping my bounds. We are Theo's parents. As his older sister, what right do you have to make decisions on our behalf?" Later, they moved into my apartment, ate my food, drank my drinks, and even demanded that I use all my savings to buy a wife for my brother. I warned them that we live in a society governed by the rule of law, and that trafficking people is illegal. They didn't take it seriously. "As long as you have money, there's nothing you can't do. At worst, we can get a foreign woman for him. This is what you owe your brother." I firmly refused, and Theo Xiao threatened to jump off the building. "If it weren't for you, how could I have lost my legs? You ruined my entire life." Theo Xiao pushed his wheelchair to the rooftop. I rushed to stop him, but in the struggle, he pushed me off the building. After I died, my soul did not immediately dissipate. It lingered by my parents' side. I saw that my parents didn't even have time to cremate me before hurriedly taking out the dozen or so accident insurance policies they had bought for me to claim a large sum of compensation. It was only then that I realized that Theo Xiao's suicide and my accidental fall from the building were all part of their premeditated plan. My father counted the balance on the card, a smile curling at the corners of his mouth, his wrinkles all scrunching together. Who says having a daughter is useless? This just proves her worth. Not only did she earn Theo a big house, but even after death, she's brought us so much money. My mother held Theo Xiao's head, kissing him left and right. Her face beaming with pride. That worthless girl is useless. Our Theo is the lucky one. A fortune teller once said that Theo would face a hurdle in his life, and once he overcame it, he would enjoy great wealth and prosperity. They used my compensation money to get my brother a prosthetic limb. Then they spent $2 million in bride price, used my apartment as the wedding home, and got my brother married to a returnee postgraduate student. I can only hover above, watching them enumerate my uselessness over the years while recklessly squandering my money. Now that I have been reborn, they must pay the price. Hearing my father's urgent voice, I curved the corners of my mouth, but my voice carried a sob. How could something like this happen? But I'm on a business trip out of town, Dad. Don't panic yet. I'll book the earliest flight back right away. Never mind what the doctor said. Go get a basin of cold water and splash Mom awake first. There has to be someone in the hospital who can take charge. I'm going to use my phone to book a ticket now. I'll contact you as soon as I get back. After saying that, ignoring my dad's shouts, I hung up the phone directly. I booked a 5-star hotel and ordered myself a luxurious takeout meal worth 2,000 yuan. I took a day off from work and didn't wake up until noon the next day. When I turned on my phone, the screen was filled with dozens of missed calls, and the messages had piled up to 99 plus. I didn't reply to any of the messages. I leisurely enjoyed a luxurious bowl of spicy hot pot and then took a taxi to the hospital. In the car, I gave myself dark circles under my eyes and then messed up my hair before rushing frantically to the intensive care unit. In the ward, Theo Xiao's face was as pale as wax, his lips were deathly white, and his eyes stared blankly at the ceiling. Seeing their beloved in such a state, my parents' hearts were shattered. My mother directed all her pent-up anger toward me. I told you to come back early, but you dragged it out until now. Do you even care about your brother's injury at all? How did we end up with such a heartless child like you? I struggled to hold back the smile at the corner of my mouth, forcing a look of sorrow. How could I not care about Theo? I was on a business trip yesterday. And it was so late. There were no flights available. I don't even care about the company anymore, whether the boss fires me or not. I rushed back just like that. If you're not happy, fine. But why scold me too? My parents were stunned by my words, watching wide-eyed as I suddenly threw myself down by Theo Xiao's bedside. Theo, my dear brother, how did you end up like this? You were perfectly fine. How could it come to amputation, without your legs from now on? You won't be able to run or jump, or play like other normal kids. What are we going to do? Theo Xiao's eyes moved, as if he had just come to life. Only then did he realize what I had said, his eyes wide open. My legs. He struggled to prop himself up, ignoring his parents' panic, and abruptly threw off the covers. The bandaged broken leg was revealed before everyone's eyes. Theo Xiao's eyes instantly filled with bloodshot, and he began to scream hysterically. My leg. How could I have lost my leg? He scanned us with his bloodshot eyes. I feigned anger and questioned my parents. What exactly did the doctor say? How could it be this serious? Who made the decision to amputate his leg? My dad, seeing Theo Xiao's expression, was already a bit intimidated. He immediately pointed at my mom and shifted the blame. It was your mom. I didn't even have time to say anything before she signed the papers. It turned out that my dad actually listened to me, fetched a basin of cold water, and splashed it on my mom to wake her up. They took turns calling my phone, but it remained unreachable. In the end, my mom gritted her teeth and, trembling, signed the amputation consent form. Under Theo Xiao's murderous glare, my mom was also frightened and tried to shift the blame onto me. It's all because Xiao Pan hasn't come back and isn't answering the phone. Otherwise, the one being sliced by Theo Xiao's glare would be me. I quickly cut off my mom's words. Pretending to comfort her while actually adding fuel to the fire, I sat at the airport all night just to book an early flight, and my phone died. I told you to wait for me to come back. How could you make a decision on your own? Mom, you've ruined Theo's future." Theo Xiao refused to listen to any explanations and started smashing things within his reach. He particularly targeted my mom's head, forcing her to crouch on the ground, trembling as she covered her head. Theo Xiao had just woken up from a serious injury and, overwhelmed by agitation and anger, collapsed onto the bed and passed out after throwing a few things. My parents let out earth-shattering cries, and I turned around with a smile, heading out to call the doctor. I rented a folding bed for 15 yuan a night. In the narrow hallway, the smell of disinfectant was pungent, and occasionally a nurse hurried by pushing a wheelchair, their footsteps echoing clearly in the silent night. My parents were still keeping watch in the hospital room, so I curled up on the folding bed for a short nap, knowing that the night watch duty would inevitably fall on me. My parents finally came out of the hospital room, and my mom slapped my arm. The stinging pain jolted me awake instantly. She glared at me fiercely, her eyes filled with blame and impatience. "Your apartment is new, and the environment is good. It's perfect for recovery. When Theo is discharged, he'll move into the apartment." Sure enough, still thinking about my house, in my previous life, I caught a wave of a sharp rise in the stock market. I didn't get greedy with the soaring trends and quickly cashed out, which allowed me to fully pay for an 80 square meter apartment. They used the excuse of letting Theo Xiao recuperate to move into my apartment. In the end, they treated the place as their own and even pressured me to pay for their renovations. After I refused, they went behind my back and hired workers. Nearly smashing the load-bearing wall, my perfectly good house was left in a complete mess by them. My dad nodded beside them. "It's only 80 square meters, it can't accommodate too many people. Your mom and I need to take care of Theo, so you'd better not come back." After saying that, he added, "By the way, please go to the first floor window to pay the medical fees." My mother chimed in, "Your brother is seriously injured. In the coming days, give me more money so I can help him recover his health." Her tone carried a command. As if all of this was something I ought to do, I sneered inwardly. "Strengthen my health? No matter how much I strengthen it, can I ever get my legs back?" Seeing that I didn't agree, my mother tried to reach out and pinch me. I waved my hand and sighed. "I've put the house up for sale." My mother's furious roar instantly erupted in the hallway. "Sold? Why did you sell it? Did you even ask for our permission before selling the house?" Her voice was sharp and piercing, drawing sidelong glances from other family members. "Do you look down on me and your dad, you ungrateful child? We raised you, fed you, and clothed you all these years, and now that you've grown wings, you want to abandon us?" I looked at her coldly, without a trace of emotion in my heart. Ever since they moved into my apartment and refused to leave, my parents have been pressuring me, both openly and subtly, to transfer the property title to their names. They used both threats and incentives. My father spoke earnestly, trying to persuade me. "Sweetie, you're not that young anymore, it's about time to start looking for a partner." Dad isn't exaggerating. Men these days can't be trusted. They might covet your premarital assets. Put the property under my name, and I'll keep it safe for you. If the old house gets demolished in the future, I'll give you a share. My mother said sharply and sarcastically, "What's yours is ours. You're our daughter, so you have to support us in our old age. We want this house now, and if you refuse, you're being unfilial." I disagree. If you don't agree, I'll go to your company with a banner and make a scene, so your leaders can see what kind of person they hired. At this thought, I gritted my teeth in anger, swearing to myself that in this lifetime, I would never let them succeed. I took a deep breath and spoke in a calm yet slightly mocking tone. "Mom, Dad, have you ever considered that Theo blew up the road and destroyed more than a dozen cars, all of which need to be compensated for?" My words were like a bucket of cold water poured over their heads. They froze, their expressions shifting from anger to panic, as if they had never considered this issue. I spread my hands, each word piercing their hearts. "The cheapest of those cars costs hundreds of thousands, and together, you'd have to pay at least this much in compensation." I extended 5 fingers, waving them in front of my parents to remind them of an unavoidable reality. 500,000. My mother swallowed hard, her voice trembling slightly. I shook my head, my tone helpless. "At least 5 million. 5 million. My mother's face instantly turned deathly pale. Her body swayed as if she were about to faint again. My father quickly steadied her, His eyes also filled with fear. My father took 2 deep breaths, looked at me, and for the first time, assumed the authority of the family head. Xiao Pan, Theo has lost both his legs and will have to rely on us for the rest of his life. As the older sister, you will be responsible for repaying all this money in the future. I was practically laughing in frustration, ever since he was little. Whenever Theo Xiao got into trouble, I was always the one who had to take the blame. It's fine, if he can't pay it back, he can just go to jail when he grows up. After all, losing his legs won't stop him from sitting in prison. As soon as I finished speaking, my mother, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, flew into a rage and lunged at me, screaming to hit me. I quickly dodged, feeling an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. I know you're in a hurry, but let's not rush. There were 3 other children setting off firecrackers with him, so the compensation should be shared equally. Would you like to check the surveillance footage and talk to the other parents? My mother's hand paused mid-air, and my father's eyes darted around as if weighing the pros and cons. They left me to wait at the hospital and quickly departed. Watching their retreating figures, I knew they would return empty-handed this time, in their previous life. They had also gone to confront those 3 families. 2 of the children hid in a blind spot of the surveillance cameras and were not caught on video during the explosion. The 2 families stubbornly denied their children's involvement and, on the contrary, demanded compensation from my parents because their children had suffered minor scrapes and bruises. The only child who was caught on camera had parents who were both deadbeats. The burly man, upon hearing my parents' purpose for visiting, immediately threw a punch at my father, not only knocking out 2 of his front teeth but also slamming the door in their faces. That's why they urgently needed money and eventually thought of killing me to claim the insurance. Theo Xiao woke up from hunger, and upon seeing the takeout I had ordered for him, his face darkened as he swept all the food containers to the floor. Who wants to eat this garbage? Get me Japanese food and a tomahawk steak. He glared at me, his tone no different from when my mother gives me orders. If you dare refuse me, I'll tell Mom and Dad, and see how they beat you. Beat me. If it were in my past life, I might have really stood there, letting them vent their emotions. Even if they beat me black and blue, I would have blamed myself for doing wrong. Now, if they can even land a hit on me, it's because I deserve it. I slowly peeled an orange, the fresh fragrance of the peel spreading through the air. Theo Xiao reached out to take it, but I deliberately stuffed the tangerine into my own mouth, chewing it slowly and deliberately. His eyes instantly turned fierce, and he waved his fist, trying to rush off the hospital bed to hit me. As a result, he lost his balance, knocked over the forestand, and nearly fell to the ground. It was only my kindness that pulled him back up. Watching his disheveled state, I couldn't help but feel like laughing. Theo Xiao was gasping for breath, trembling all over, about to go into a frenzy again. I quickly kept my distance from him, speaking in a gentle tone with a barely noticeable hint of provocation. Dad meant well. You said you wanted to set off fireworks, so he bought such a huge pile. Who knew you didn't like fireworks and insisted on choosing firecrackers instead? I sighed, feigning regret. If only Dad had only bought fireworks and not those double-bang firecrackers, you wouldn't have thrown them into the manhole cover. And you wouldn't have had your leg blown off. Theo Xiao bit his lower lip, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white, the hatred in his eyes so intense it was terrifying. But I wasn't scared at all. I smiled and continued to provoke him. Mom agreed to have your leg amputated for your own good. Ever since you started high school, you've been asking her for money every day, either to go out gaming with friends or to eat out with classmates. I heard you even got a girlfriend. I paused, my tone laced with meaning. To buy your girlfriend a birthday gift. You had a huge fight with Mom. She called me crying, saying you've never bought her a birthday gift, and that once you have a wife, you'll forget all about your mother. I watched his increasingly contorted face with a sense of satisfaction. Mom is just worried you'll go astray. Without your legs, you'll have to stay obediently by her side and continue being her good son. Theo Xiao was like a frenzied beast. His eyes filled with rage and resentment. Damn them, they all deserve to die. It was clearly their fault, yet they cost me my legs. I won't let them get away with this. Theo Xiao is just so selfish. He blames all his misfortunes on others. It used to be me, and now it's our parents. How ironic. Where are Mom and Dad? I'm in this state, and they're not by my side. Where have they gone? Theo Xiao finally realized that after all his yelling and screaming, his parents hadn't shown up, for once. His voice carried a hint of unease. I pretended to be upset, glanced at him, then turned my head away. Mom and Dad are doing this for your own good. With your leg in this condition, you shouldn't push yourself. There will be plenty of difficult days ahead if you keep making a scene like this every day. I'm afraid even Mom and Dad won't be able to handle it. If they end up sending you off to some nursing home, you'll truly have no one to turn to. I looked as if I had said the wrong thing and quickly covered my mouth. I didn't mean that Mom and Dad went to look for a nursing home. Don't overthink it, just focus on recovering. Theo Xiao grabbed his own hair, his eyes wild, muttering incessantly, for my own good. All for my own good. They clearly don't want me anymore. They see I've lost my leg and want to abandon me. Not a chance. As soon as my mom stepped into the hospital room, a glass cup flew straight at her, hitting her forehead. Blood instantly streamed down her cheek. My dad was also cut on the face by the flying glass shards, and the pain made him gasp sharply. That glass cup was the one I had casually placed by Theo Xiao's bedside earlier. My parents were already in a bad mood. Having returned looking weary and disheartened, now, injured by their own son, they could no longer contain their anger. My mother could no longer care for the affection she once had for Theo Xiao, and she forgot that he was still injured. The 5 million compensation was like a mountain, pressing down on her until she could hardly breathe, becoming the final straw that broke the camel's back. She rushed over, grabbed Theo Xiao by the shoulders, and began pounding on him with all her might. Making a scene. How dare you make a scene? If it weren't for you, would your father and I have to endure being spat on and shut out of doors? Do you know how much we have to pay in compensation? Even if we sold your sister, she wouldn't be worth 5 million. Theo Xiao naturally refused to be outdone. His furious voice was tinged with grievance, and his eyes pierced my mother like knives. I know you don't want me. Stop pretending. As he spoke, he began frantically tearing at the bandages on his leg, his movements rough as if he felt no pain. Why bother healing? Just let me die. If I die, you'll get what you want. My mother rushed forward in tears to stop him, her voice filled with panic and pleading. Theo, how could Mom and Dad ever abandon you? Do you know how much trouble you've caused? We have to raise money. My father stood to the side, wiping his face. His front tooth was gone, and his mouth was swollen when he spoke. His voice was muffled and unclear. Sell Xiaopan's house, then find her a husband and get a betrothal gift. After that, look for evidence to make those 3 families pay up too. If that's still not enough, we'll have to sell our old house as well. Upon hearing this, my mother immediately retorted loudly, her tone filled with resentment and anger. If we sell the old house, where will we live? Better to make Xiaopan take out a loan. A small loan will do, or even a nude loan. Just force her to get the money somehow. I stood in the corner, watching everything unfold with cold indifference. They brazenly discussed how to sell me for money, as if I were nothing more than a disposable commodity. I didn't feel the slightest bit of sadness. It was as if I had shed all my tears in a past life. All that remained in my heart was icy mockery and resolve. Want me to burn myself out to support them again? In your dreams. A few days later, the trap I had meticulously set was finally in place. With red-rimmed eyes and unsteady steps, I rushed into the hospital room, my face streaked with tears as if the sky had fallen. These days, under the pretense of needing to buy a house and secure a loan, I've been running around outside all day. The heavy responsibility of caring for Theo Xiao fell on my parents' shoulders. They took turns sleeping on a folding bed in the hospital hallway. People in their 50s simply couldn't endure it. In just a few days, they appeared utterly exhausted, with sunken eyes and wrinkles covering their faces, as if drained of all vitality. Seeing me come in, my parents were about to ask about the progress of selling the house and the loan, but upon seeing me crying so miserably, they immediately furrowed their brows. I threw myself in front of them, sobbing bitterly, wiping my tears with my sleeve while also smearing snot on their clothes. Mom and Dad, I've been scammed. The real estate agent missed a zero when listing the house price. I sobbed, my voice filled with despair. I was in a hurry to raise money for Theo's medical bills and compensation, so I signed without even looking. As a result, the agency only transferred 80,000 to me and even deducted 70,000 as commission. The moment my parents heard, their faces instantly turned ashen, and they almost simultaneously sprang to their feet. My mother grabbed my arm, while my father slammed the table hard, his voice filled with anger and disbelief. "You useless fool, you can't even handle such a small matter. What good are you? 800,000, and you just lost it. Call the police. Go call the police right now." They dragged me out the door. We rushed to the police station. But the police told us that this was a civil dispute and advised us to file a lawsuit in court. However, the 8th day of the Lunar New Year hadn't even passed, and the court was still on holiday, with no one working at all. After a whole day of running around, my parents had no choice but to take me back to the hospital. Along the way, they kept cursing me over and over. My mother raised her hand several times to hit me, but I cleverly dodged each time. I didn't argue or even look at them, just kept covering my face and crying, as if I had truly suffered a great injustice. Back in the ward, Theo Xiao was glaring at them fiercely. They suddenly remembered that in their haste, they had forgotten to leave someone at the hospital to take care of their son with the broken leg. The nurse was kind enough to order a meal for Theo Xiao, but how could the delicate Theo Xiao possibly eat that hospital cafeteria food? He went hungry all day and even wet the bed. His parents had paid for a private room so he could recover properly, but when he wanted to throw a tantrum, no one was there to humor him. Finally, before it got dark, Theo Xiao had us back as he wished. In front of Theo Xiao, my parents scolded me and ordered me to stay with him tonight. At night, only Theo Xiao and I were left in the hospital room. I sobbed, pretending to inadvertently reveal the truth. The house actually sold for 800,000, and there was no dispute at all. But Mom and Dad don't want to pay for your medical treatment, nor do they want to use the money for compensation. I looked at him with pity. "Do you know about in vitro fertilization? Mom and Dad went out to inquire about it recently. They say it's completely possible to have a child even in your 50s. For just 800,000, you can even choose the baby's gender. You know how much they want a son, a healthy son." The insurance company, the city management department, and the traffic management department all came looking. The verified compensation amount is 5.83 million, exactly the same as in the previous life. This figure hit my parents' hearts like a massive boulder. Due to the police's involvement, the parents of the 3 children who initially refused to admit guilt could no longer make excuses, but they still insisted that their children were merely bystanders and had not participated at all. The deadbeat family was invited for tea several times but stubbornly clung to their claim of having no money, putting on a shameless act of no money to give, but a life to take if you want. Finally, the accident liability compensation awarded to Theo Xiao was 3.5 million. This figure completely devastated his parents. They cried out in despair and were utterly unwilling to accept the outcome. Compared to Theo Xiao's amputation, the 3.5 million pained them even more. After all, amputation is just a physical disability, but 3.5 million is real money. They started forcing me to borrow money, to take out loans, as if I were their ATM, ready to spit out millions at any moment. But where could I possibly get a loan of over 3 million? Even loan sharks wouldn't dare lend that much money without collateral. They didn't give up and started contacting people, urgently trying to find me a husband, with only one condition, a bride price of 3.5 million. They approached several matchmakers, and the more decent ones smiled and politely declined. The sharp-tongued ones pointed at my parents and scolded them. "Is your daughter made of gold? 3.5 million. Why don't you just rob a bank? It'd be faster." After the New Year holiday, my parents went to court to sue the agency that had listed my house. But the holiday season has piled up a lot of cases that need to be heard in court, and the queue stretches all the way to the end of March. They can only keep pressuring me to take out loans, using whatever amount I can borrow first. "Your brother is in such a state. You can't just stand by and watch him suffer, your siblings, and once our parents are gone, he'll be your only family. After all the years our parents raised you, how can you bear to watch them be crushed by debt? You're also a part of this family and must contribute. How can you just hide on the sidelines?" I clutched my chest and refused, telling them I simply couldn't repay it, trying to use family ties to guilt-trip me. How could that work? They used up all the family affection in our previous life. Seeing that I remained unmoved, my mom threatened to cause a scene at my company again. I was well prepared and took out the company's termination contract. pretending to be sorrowful as I said, "The day Theo broke his leg. I gave up a big deal and rushed back. The company lost over $1 million, and I got fired. I don't have a job anymore. I might even need you to support me in the future." My parents were shocked. They had no pension. And if even I lost my source of income, the family's basic expenses would become unsustainable, not to mention the follow-up observations and nutritional expenses for Theo Xiao. They kept urging me to quickly find a job that pays $30,000 to $50,000 a month. After a moment's thought, I agreed, using the excuse of job hunting to stay away from home all day. Naturally, I couldn't help them share the heavy burden of taking care of Theo Xiao. These days, no matter how frantic his parents are, Theo Xiao remains unusually calm. Like the silent night before a storm, he just coldly watches his parents run around, almost turning their hair grey with worry over money. When Theo Xiao was healthy, he was undoubtedly his parents' most beloved son, the apple of their eye, but now, he can't even go to the bathroom by himself, having to do it in bed and wait for his parents to clean up. When he's in a bad mood, he'll throw everything on the floor, then turn away with a cold face. Waiting for someone to coax him. After a long time, my parents couldn't bear it anymore, and with the pressure of the compensation, it was inevitable for them to complain a little. After my dad picked up the glass that Theo Xiao had broken once again, he finally snapped, "The whole family is running around for you, to take care of you. Your mom and I haven't had a good night's sleep in days. What more are you dissatisfied with? Haven't we been good enough to you, in the past? We gave you everything you wanted, and now we have to clean up the mess you've made. When will you finally grow up?" Theo Xiao laughed, a sinister and terrifying laugh, being sensible, and then like Xiao Pan, being forced by you to earn money, forced to let you suck her blood. My mother stared in shock at her son, who was also a beneficiary. "That was all for you. If we didn't pressure your sister, how would we get the money for compensation? How can you still have the nerve to say that? Over $3 million, if it weren't for you." Before she could finish her sentence, Theo Xiao cut her off, furiously sweeping everything off the nightstand. "Because of me, who bought the firecrackers for me." He pointed at my father, who stood there dumbfounded, and roared, "You say you love me, but you bought such a dangerous thing. Don't you know how many people get injured by firecrackers every year?" My father's face showed disbelief. "Wasn't that what you wanted?" He hadn't expected that risking a fine to buy what his son wanted would become a reason for his son to blame him. "If you want it, then buy it. Can't you assess the risks yourself? Don't you always say you've eaten more salt than we've eaten rice?" Theo Xiao turned his hand toward my mother again. His expression grew even more menacing. "If it weren't for you signing the amputation consent form, would I have lost both my legs?" My mom's tears fell instantly as she shook her head desperately. "It's all because of Xiao Pan. If she had come back earlier, she would have been the one to sign." Theo Xiao sneered. "Xiao Pan, it's always about Xiao Pan. You are my parents. How could she sign in your place? It's just that you want to shirk responsibility. You, all of you are the sinners who harmed me." When I returned, my parents' faces were frighteningly gloomy. They hung their heads, with visible scars on their faces, looking dejected and exhausted. However, when they looked up at me, their eyes were filled with gloom and anger, as if I were the one who had hurt them. Theo Xiao's door was tightly shut, and occasionally, the sound of something falling could be heard from inside. Obviously, he hasn't settled down yet. Naturally, I didn't ask any unnecessary questions and turned to go into the kitchen to find something to eat. After eating, I used the excuse of being tired to retreat to my room and sleep peacefully. In the middle of the night, the sound of an argument came from my parents' room. I faintly heard my own name, and my heart sank instantly, jolting me awake. Without even putting on my shoes, I tiptoed to open the door, holding my breath and listening carefully. The soundproofing in this old house was terrible, even though my mother lowered her voice. Every word she said still reached my ears clearly. "That fat guy in his 50s, didn't his wife just die? He said he could offer 500,000. My dad's voice was hesitant. "That fat guy gambled and lost everything, and now he's trying to pin it on us, and the one who just got out of prison, even though he's only offering 300,000. At least it's safe." My foot. "He's a murderer." My mom's voice suddenly rose. Then, as if realizing something, she quickly lowered it. "If that person isn't satisfied with Xiao Pan and wants his money back, would you dare not return it? Aren't you afraid of what he might do to us?" My father sighed. seemingly giving in. If we can't get more bride price, then that fat guy it is. But how do we get Xiao Pan to agree? My mother clicked her tongue twice, her tone carrying a nauseating ease. That's easy. Invite him over tomorrow, give Xiao Pan some medicine, and let that fat guy take care of things, my dad added with a laugh. When the time comes, we'll record a video. Xiao Pan cares about his reputation. He'll definitely just endure it and make do in the end. I felt my hands and feet turn ice cold, as if my blood had frozen. Before surging violently to the top of my head, I clenched my lips tightly, not letting a single sound escape, but my eyes welled up with tears. Even though I had already died once in a past life, the chill in my heart now is still bone deep. My own parents, for the sake of money, could actually be this heartless. Early the next morning, I quietly left home. Since they insist on pushing me into the abyss, don't blame me for being ruthless. It was just noon when my mom sent me a message. She said I had been working hard these days and had specially made my favorite braised prawns, urging me to hurry home. It was the first time I had ever heard such a gentle tone from her. I couldn't help but burst into laughter, laughing until tears came to my eyes. My mom probably forgot that I'm allergic to seafood. In middle school, I was even rushed to the emergency room after accidentally eating shrimp. Braised prawns are actually my younger brother Theo Xiao's favorite. Look, even when she lies to me, she's so half-hearted about it, since everything I wanted was already taken care of. I didn't argue with her and obediently went home. At home, the table was laden with steaming hot dishes, all delicacies that Mom and Dad usually saved for special occasions, only occasionally prepared just for Theo Xiao. Sitting at the head of the table was a man who weighed at least 200 pounds. Even Theo Xiao, whom Mom and Dad cherished the most, could only sit to the side. The man seemed quite pleased to see me, the fat on his face trembling as it squeezed his already narrow eyes into slits. He grinned, revealing a set of large yellow teeth, and greeted me. My mother gestured for me to sit next to the man and introduced him with a smile. Pan Pan, this is your brother Wang. He liked you a lot after seeing your photo and just wanted to get to know you today. I lowered my eyes, my expression cold. I should call him Uncle Wang, right? He's probably even older than my dad. My mom walked over and gave me a hard pinch on the waist. What do you know? Older men know how to cherish their partners. Look at that guy. What's his name? Dong. He's the same age as the milk tea sister's dad, and look how happy and perfect their marriage is. My dad quickly stood up to pour a glass of wine for Fatty Wang, then handed me one too, his eyes full of warning. What are you standing there for? Go toast your brother Wang now. I looked down at the wine glass in my hand. The liquid inside was murky, as if something had been mixed into it. Everyone present was waiting for me to drink the wine in the glass, but how could I let them have their way? I placed the glass on the table and then pulled out an insurance flyer. Wang, bro, you came at just the right time. I just got a job at an insurance company, and I can offer you a discount on policies. I practically shoved the flyer right into his face. Look. There have been car accidents and plane crashes lately. You never know whether an accident or tomorrow will come first. For the sake of you and your family, it's absolutely necessary to get an accident insurance policy. Wang Peng's mouth twitched, and he tossed the flyer aside, but then tried to grab my arm. I quickly withdrew my hand and said calmly before my parents could get angry, this accident insurance can pay up to 5 million. My parents seemed frozen in place. After a long moment, they exchanged a glance, silently sat down to eat, and stopped trying to set me up with Fatty Wang. I knew they were tempted. Fatty Wang waited for a long time, but the good thing my parents had promised never came. He slammed the table furiously, stood up, and stormed off, kicking the chair askew and nearly toppling the table. It seems you don't want the 500,000 betrothal gift after all. He spat out these words through gritted teeth and rushed out the door without looking back. My parents, who had been extremely warm to him, didn't say a single polite word. My mother's fingers unconsciously traced the rim of her teacup, while my father stared at the dishes on the table, pushing the food around in his bowl with his chopsticks but not taking a single bite. They were both lost in their own thoughts. Well, 500,000 is nothing compared to 5 million. In my parents' eyes, I was always just a commodity. Whether I was alive to be exchanged for money or dead to be exchanged for money, it made no difference. What mattered was how much money could be gained. After finishing the meal, I let out a satisfied burp. wiped my mouth, and was about to head back to my room when my parents called out to stop me. My mother's voice was filled with greed as she stared intently at the words on the flyer, her eyes gleaming with hope. "Xiaopan, can we really get 5 million in compensation?" I shook my head with a smile, and the light in my mother's eyes instantly dimmed, as if she had been doused with a bucket of cold water. Just as she was about to call Fatty, I spoke again, unhurriedly. 5 million is certainly not possible, but 3 million is no problem. It mainly depends on what type of insurance you're getting. I walked around the desk and gently tapped my finger on a line of fine print on the brochure. For example, this accident insurance offers the highest payout. My mother's eyes lit up as if she had discovered a treasure. She immediately made eye contact with my dad. My dad fell silent for a moment, then turned to look at Theo Xiao, who was quietly picking at his rice, with a complicated expression. Finally, he gritted his teeth, as if making a firm decision, and gave my mom a slight nod. I saw all these actions, but I acted as if I hadn't noticed, speaking in a relaxed tone. "The boss said that as a new employee like me, I need to meet 5 targets this month to get a bonus, otherwise, I'll only get the base salary of 800 yuan. I sighed and deliberately shook my head with a troubled expression. "Do mom and dad know anyone who needs to buy insurance? It would help me boost my performance." My mom used all her acting skills, pretending to have a sudden idea, and slapped her thigh with great effort. "We just didn't buy it. If not, you can buy one for yourself and list me, your dad, and your brother as beneficiaries. If something happens to you, our family could get a large sum of money." After saying this, she stared straight at me, a barely noticeable urgency in her eyes. I raised an eyebrow and pretended to joke. "Only buying it for me, mom and dad? Are you planning some kind of accident for me? You're my biological parents. Surely you wouldn't kill your own daughter for insurance money, right?" My mom's expression immediately turned awkward. She avoided eye contact, and her voice faltered as she stammered. "You silly child, what nonsense are you talking? I'm your birth mother. How could you even think that?" My dad, afraid I'd grow suspicious, immediately waved his hand and scolded my mom angrily, his voice suddenly rising a few notches as if trying to cover up some hidden guilt. "What nonsense are you talking? Our daughter is blessed with great fortune and a strong fate. Don't you talk nonsense." As he said this, his eyes flickered, and his fingers unconsciously tightened around the edge of the table, his knuckles turning slightly white. I sneered inwardly. Blessed with great fortune and a strong fate. How ironic. From childhood to adulthood, I've always been a dispensable presence in this family, and now I've suddenly become their so-called lucky star. My dad deliberately put on a loving smile and looked at me. "Your mother isn't well educated and can't hold her tongue. Don't take it to heart. My mom isn't well educated, but when it comes to scheming against me, she's quite sharp. I don't believe a single word they say." My father sighed, his tone deliberately heavy. "But there really are a lot of accidents these days. Just take your brother, for example. If we had known his leg would be amputated, we would have bought insurance in advance and wouldn't be worrying about money now." The word amputation struck Theo Xiao like a knife, instantly hitting his most sensitive spot. He slammed his bowl and chopsticks onto the table, splattering oil everywhere. I quickly stepped back to avoid it, splashing oil all over my parents. My mom screamed and gave Theo Xiao a couple of light taps, with less force than swatting a mosquito, while muttering, "You child, how can you be so thoughtless?" My dad frowned and signaled with his eyes for my mom to quickly take Theo Xiao away. My mother immediately understood and pushed Theo Xiao into the house. Only my father and I were left in the living room. He was rubbing his hands, a gesture I've seen him do for many years. Whenever he gets nervous, he unconsciously rubs his hands, something he might not even realize himself. My father awkwardly continued the conversation. "I think it's necessary to buy this insurance. I see on this form that a health declaration is required. Your brother probably won't be able to get it, so how about all 3 of us in the family buy it? And we'll list your brother as the beneficiary. He really thinks of his precious son in every good thing." I didn't refuse. After all, Theo Xiao probably won't be able to claim this money. But I spread my hands, looking troubled. "Dad, for this insurance policy that offers 3 million in compensation, the monthly premium is 300. If we all get it together, it'll be 900. After paying Theo's hospital bill last time, I don't have any money left." Hearing this, my father frowned even more deeply. his fingers rubbing together faster, he slowly stood up and began searching all around the house. Drawers, cabinets, even the crevices of the sofa, leaving no spot unchecked. Finally, he managed to scrape together 900 yuan. Some of the bills were crumpled, as if they had been hidden away for a long time. I smiled and took the money, my fingers gently brushing over the wrinkled bills, but my heart felt as cold as ice. This money was probably his long-saved private stash, and now, for the sake of that 3 million, he was willing to part with it. Accompanied by my father, we went to the insurance company. On the way, he walked ahead of me, his steps somewhat hurried, as if afraid I might change my mind. The moment he received the insurance policy, he seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the wrinkles on his face smoothing out. He carefully folded the policy and placed it in his pocket, as if tucking away a precious treasure. On the way home, he even stopped at a roadside milk tea shop and bought me a cup of milk tea. Drink it, don't say your dad is stingy. He let out a dry laugh, his voice a bit hoarse. He hypocritically shed a few tears, his voice choked with emotion. Life and death are fated. No one can force what isn't meant to be. Is life and death predestined? Yes, my fate has long been calculated clearly by them. I lowered my head and took a sip of milk tea, which was cloyingly sweet. The next day, when I woke up, I saw the three of them already brewing emotions in the living room. Seeing me appear, they quickly exchanged a glance, a flicker of understanding in their eyes, and immediately began their performance, just like in the previous life. Theo Xiao was the first to make a scene. Wailing loudly, while crying, he pounded on his disabled leg, tearfully lamenting, "My future is ruined. I can't go to school anymore, I can't work. I've become the dregs of society. What's the point of me living anymore?" I almost burst out laughing. Even if his legs were perfectly fine, he would still be scum of society. From childhood to adulthood, what has he done besides causing trouble? Now he has the nerve to say he ruined his future. My parents immediately played along, with my father beating his chest in anguish, utterly heartbroken. "We've worked so hard to raise you all these years, just hoping you'd grow up quickly and support us in our old age. But now, what are we supposed to do?" My mother looked as if the sky had fallen. "Son, if something happens to you, how are we supposed to go on living?" Moved by the emotion of the moment, they hugged each other and wept bitterly. While crying, they secretly observed my expression. Seeing that I remained unmoved, just standing coldly to the side with not a ripple of emotion in my eyes, my mom grew anxious. She desperately signaled to Theo Xiao with her eyes, to the point of straining them, as if afraid his performance wasn't convincing enough. Theo Xiao, having received my mom's hint, thrashed about even more vigorously, his voice cracking from the strain. "What's the point of living as a cripple like me? I might as well just die." With that, he pushed his wheelchair and rushed out. In his previous life, he lived in my apartment, and the wheelchair he used was also bought by me, the most expensive and best one, which could even climb stairs automatically. But the wheelchair he's sitting on now was bought by my parents for 50 yuan at a second-hand market, not to mention automatically going up the stairs. Even pushing it normally took a great deal of effort. Theo Xiao stopped panting in front of the stairs, looking at the steps above with a dazed expression, and instinctively turned to look at his parents. Before my parents could react, I rushed over, hugged Theo Xiao tightly, and burst into tears. "How could you have such an idea? Since you were little, when have mom and dad not put you first? The firecracker that blew off your leg was bought by dad. When it came to signing the amputation consent form, mom was the first to step up. They really care about you." I lowered my voice again, with a hint of persuasion in my tone. "Too bad mom and dad are going for IVF. Maybe next year, a little brother will be born. Ah, if only I had an accident. The accident insurance could save mom and dad, but I can't save you. You'll need more money in the future. If something happens to mom and dad." I left my words hanging. Theo Xiao seemed to understand. His hand that was about to hit my head stopped mid-air, a complex emotion flashing in his eyes. Only then did mom and dad realize that Theo Xiao couldn't get to the rooftop by himself, so they exchanged a glance, ran over, and pushed me aside. My father grabbed Theo Xiao by the shoulders, and my mother lifted his broken leg. Together, they carried him upstairs. They kept shouting, "Let's all just die. Let's die together." I quietly turned on my phone's camera, pretending to cry and shout as I chased after them. "Don't do this, don't leave me alone." My parents had already brought Theo Xiao to the edge of the fence. The barbed wire that was originally set up for safety had, at some point, developed a large hole. My parents had already straddled the fence, wailing and crying out to the heavens. Theo Xiao, on the other hand, leaned against the railing, staring silently at the ground 7 stories below. A cold wind howled past, its biting chill making all 3 of them shiver uncontrollably, watching them on the verge of taking their own lives. I was naturally in immense pain. I cried until my legs gave way, collapsing to the ground, almost unable to get up. My parents wailed for a long time, watching me lying on the ground crying, but I didn't go over to pull them up, and they grew a bit impatient. My mother pointed at me and scolded sharply. "Xiaopan, what are you doing lying on the ground? Do you want to watch us jump to our deaths? I always knew you were heartless since you were little." My father tucked his chin into his collar and waved at me to come over, wanting to end this quickly so he could go back inside to warm up. "I'm getting old, and so is your mother. We had a moment of weakness and couldn't think clearly. Come over and pull us back." I wiped my face, slowly got up, and walked toward them. "So you're really not going to die anymore?" Their eyes were filled with excitement and nervousness. I stood still 2 meters away from them and said cautiously, "Mom, Dad. I just called the police in the hallway. They'll be here soon. Please, don't jump." My parents' faces instantly changed, and even Theo Xiao, who had gone unnoticed, froze for a moment. My parents roared and tried to climb out of the railing to grab me. Just as they were halfway through, Theo Xiao, who was outside, suddenly exerted force and pushed my mother with both hands. My mother was completely unprepared, her hands flailing as she screamed and fell from the upper floor. The scream was abruptly cut short. When my father instinctively looked down, he saw my mother lying on the stone pavement, enveloped in bright red blood. As he turned back, he saw Theo Xiao's bloodshot eyes filled with murderous intent. The sound of the siren grew closer and then stopped outside the residential area. Theo Xiao turned to look at me and said fiercely, "Sis, Mom and Dad fell by accident. It was an accident." I smiled at him. Then the recorded video was handed over to the police who had arrived. As Theo Xiao was taken away in handcuffs, the sun slowly rose, its rays piercing through the clouds and scattering across the land, dazzling and warm. End of story. That concludes the first story. Don't go away. The next story is even more exciting. After dying from illness, I was reborn 1 month before I was supposed to marry Zhu Kaiyang. In this life, I no longer mind him openly moving into our marital home with his late friend's widow, nor do I mind his younger sister calling Fu Huan's sister-in-law over and over again. I applied to my superiors to cancel the marriage and agreed to the arrangement of being sent to the countryside. A year later, he finally found me, only to see me on the back seat of a male-educated youth's bicycle, smiling radiantly, amid the voices of those around us praising how well-matched we were. Zhu Kaiyang, with red-rimmed eyes, tremblingly took out the marriage report I had torn to pieces. "Jirue, when are we going to get our marriage certificate?" "Xiaoshen, your partner is back." At the alley entrance, Auntie Zhu enthusiastically informed me, her eyes filled with a hint of pity and sympathy in the end. In my previous life, I didn't understand what her look meant, but now that I've been reborn, I understand it all too well. Zhu Kaiyang not only returned, but also brought back his brother's widow. It is said that his brother was infected with a disease during a free medical consultation. The illness progressed rapidly, and he died suddenly. His last wish before passing away was to ask Zhu Kaiyang to take care of his wife and daughter, as someone who has been through it. Aunt Zhu already foresaw how difficult the rest of my life would be. I smiled at her in response. I wanted to say, "Don't worry, in this lifetime, I will never force myself to swallow this half-cooked rice again." I didn't go to greet Zhu Kaiyang, because I knew he wouldn't come home first. He would be busy finding a comfortable place for Fu Huan and her daughter. I've been running around all day for this, and I finally found a few decent ones, but Fu Huan rejected them all for various reasons. Helpless, Zhu Kaiyang had no choice but to bring Fu Huan and her daughter back to his own place. I will always remember in my past life, standing at the entrance of the alley, eagerly looking forward to his return. But all I saw was the 3 of them walking side by side intimately, like a family of 3 heading home. Looking back now, that day marked the beginning of my long, tormented life. In my past life, I was blinded by love, willing to endure Fu Huan and her daughter just to marry Zhu Kaiyang and fulfill my youthful wish. After marriage, I conscientiously fulfilled my duties as a wife, managing household affairs for him and dedicating myself to his entire family. His parents were chronically ill and needed care, and his younger sister was spoiled and willful, constantly causing trouble. Before marriage, I often felt sorry for Zhu Kaiyang, such an outstanding person, being held back by his family and unable to make new progress in his work and advancement. So after marriage, I became his supportive partner. I helped him manage everything at home, using my own sacrifices to help him climb the ladder of success. The first year, he felt heartache and guilt, often saying intimate words to express his love for me. The second year, he gradually became accustomed to it, and both he and his entire family began to take my efforts for granted. The third and fourth years, he sent less and less money home. I had to manage household chores while also taking on odd jobs to make ends meet, leaving me physically and mentally exhausted. If I weren't pregnant, I would have told him the good news in person. Sneaking to his workplace to see him, I might never have known that Zhu Kaiyang had taken Fu Huan and her daughter into his dormitory, where the three of them had been living together for 2 years. The gradually reduced remittances and food coupons over the years were all given to Fu Huan and her daughter to enjoy. At that time, I lost my mind and caused a scene at his workplace. Many people came to watch the commotion, and as the situation became increasingly unfavorable for Fu Huan, her daughter ran over and shoved me hard, pushing me down the stairs. The ground was stained red with blood, and I lost my child. After waking up, I originally wanted to get a divorce, but Zhu Kaiyang knelt down and begged me to stay, saying he had sent Fu Huan and her daughter away, pleading for a chance to make amends. He also wanted to have another child with me. I ended up forgiving him out of soft-heartedness, which set the stage for a tragic second half of my life. It wasn't until more than a decade later that I stumbled upon Fu Huan's daughter's graduation speech online. She introduced her parents to the audience, and the faces that appeared were those of Fu Huan and Zhu Kaiyang. Only then did I realize that Zhu Kaiyang had maintained a close relationship with them all these years, even taking on the role of a father in their family. When I lost my child and was in unbearable pain, he found a new house for Fu Huan and her mother, taking care of all their daily needs in an orderly manner. While I was managing the household and taking care of his parents and sister, all his remaining energy was devoted to protecting and caring for Fu Huan and her mother, while I couldn't even bear to eat an extra piece of meat. Saving every penny to support my family, he took Fu Huan and her mother to a state-run restaurant, feasting lavishly with his newly received bonus. Their life was happy and prosperous, flourishing with joy. Leaving me alone, covered in dust, my hair turning white, wrinkles forming, and my back bent under the daily toil. I don't want this kind of life in my second chance. I don't want Zhu Kaiyang either. Not long after I got married in my previous life, I resigned. My boss even expressed regret for a moment, repeatedly saying what a pity it was to lose my work capabilities. But at that time, I was so impulsive for the sake of my family that I didn't consider my own future at all in this life. I won't give up my job again. I told my boss that I wasn't getting married, and I even took the initiative to say I was willing to accept a transfer to another location. The leader was somewhat surprised that I, who had been so focused on getting married not long ago, would change my mind so quickly. But he didn't say anything. I am hardworking and willing to continue serving the organization, so naturally, everyone is happy. After leaving work, I went to the street and bought a few white sugar buns. I never eat meat-filled buns, but in my past life, I did. To accommodate Zhu Qian's taste, I bought him meat buns his whole life. Perhaps, until his death, he never knew that what I loved were sweet sugar buns. Let's go. By the time I got home, it was already dark. From a distance, I could see someone standing at my doorstep, tall and slender, with a very upright posture. I turned around, and sure enough, it was Zhu Kaiyang. He saw me, as if waiting for something. If it were any other time, when he returned from a business trip, I would have joyfully run to him, my face full of smiles. But now, I just stood there, watching him coldly. He froze for a moment, then spoke. "You're back." He watched me brush past him and take out the keys to open the door. I didn't even give him a proper glance. "Do you have something to do?" The man hesitated for a moment, then confessed honestly, "Hua Jian has passed away, And he has a daughter with no one to take care of her. He was my only true brother, so naturally, his daughter is like my own, my daughter. We are about to get married, and I thought I should ask for your opinion on this matter. He continued, I want to bring them over to take care of them. I caught his wording, them. Zhu Kaiyang also knew it was embarrassing, and he hurriedly explained, after all, Tian Tian is still young and can't be without her mother, so I brought both of them. The mother and daughter, over together. He means that just taking care of the child isn't enough. Her mother must also be brought over to be cared for together. Is Fu Huan, a grown adult with hands and feet, incapable of earning a living and supporting herself? When I loved him, I naturally cared about everything. But now, my heart is as calm as still water. I said to him, this is your own matter, no need to inform me. The indifference in my tone made Zhu Kaiyang frown. What do you mean by that? We're about to get married, of course some things should be discussed together. He spoke so righteously, but if he really wanted to seek my opinion, he wouldn't have brought the person home without saying a word. The die is cast, how could I possibly drive the orphan and widow out, in the darkness of the night? I wanted to quickly send him away, but suddenly I noticed something. When I opened the door earlier, the bag of sugar I casually placed on the shelf by the entrance had been taken. Wang Tiantian hid behind Zhu Kaiyang, devouring the steamed bun in big bites. Tian Tian, when did you get here? Fu Huan hurried over at the sound. She seemed to have dressed up carefully, and even the breeze she stirred carried a fragrance. It seemed that, in her eyes, this was our first meeting. And she couldn't afford to lose face. Sorry, Brother Kaiyang, this child sneaked out on her own and disturbed you and Sister Shen. Hey, where did you get these buns from? Be careful not to upset your stomach. She snatched the bag from Wang Tiantian's hand and threw it on the ground. I suppressed my anger. I waited in line for an hour to get those sugar buns. Fu Huan's face flushed with embarrassment, and she let out an awkward, forced laugh. So it was given by Sister Shen. My Tiantian usually doesn't eat things from outsiders. Her stomach is sensitive. You should avoid giving her snacks in the future. Well, that makes it sound like it's my fault. I let out a mocking laugh. I put the bun properly on the shelf. So how did it end up in her mouth? Without permission, she just took someone else's things and ate them. How did you raise your child, after being mocked by me? Fu Huan immediately looked at Zhu Kaiyang with a pitiful expression. A pitiful appearance that moves one to compassion. Enough, it's just 2 buns. Jirue, when did you become so intolerant? Arguing with a child, they immediately formed a united front, as if I were some kind of enemy. In the past life, Zhu Kaiyang often did the same. Firmly standing by Fu Huan and her mother, treating me as the opposition, using condemnation to bind me. The tone of the frame forced me to yield and to tolerate. I've endured enough in my past life, I won't put up with it this time. Stealing may seem minor, but it reveals a person's character. You can tell a lot about someone from small actions, even if they are just a child. A child may be young and ignorant, but if adults knowingly overlook their mistakes and fail to guide them, that child is truly doomed. Isn't Zhu Kaiyang the one who prides himself on being a scholar, loves to lecture others, and uses grand principles to shut me up? Then I'll use the same approach to deal with him. Sure enough, upon hearing my words, Zhu Qian's expression stiffened for a moment, and he looked at Fu Huan. I remember I gave you money. Didn't you buy food for the child? Why is she so hungry that she's taking other people's things to eat? Fu Huan bit her lip in grievance and lowered her head. I'm sorry, Brother Kaiyang. I slammed the door shut with a bang, cutting off the noise from outside. What happens to them is none of my business. The next day, I went to the office again, and my supervisor informed me that the transfer document had been approved, urging me to quickly purchase a train ticket. This transfer was a bit rushed, and the conditions there are quite tough, but the unit has promised to promote me and give me a raise after the 3-year term is completed. Salary, I gladly accept. It's not about the pay, I just want to stay far away from Zhu Qian's entire family and never have to see these despicable people again. I'll be satisfied if that's the case. That day, I went out early to buy tickets. Unexpectedly, at the entrance of the alley, I ran into 3 people who looked in a hurry. Zhu Kaiyang and Fu Huan were together, carrying Wang Tiantian, who was in great pain. I intended to walk around, but Fu Huan stopped me and spoke first. It was you, wasn't it? The child just stole 2 of your steamed buns yesterday, and you held a grudge, feeding her something dirty. Tian Tian is now vomiting and having diarrhea. Are you satisfied? Utterly unreasonable. Facing her accusation, I impatiently said, what does that have to do with me? I haven't even seen her today. Buying the ticket was urgent, and I was about to leave this troublesome place, but someone wouldn't let me. Zhu Kaiyang tightly gripped my wrist, looking utterly righteous and unyielding. You come with me. If it really was you who poisoned the child to this extent, you have to take full responsibility. After saying that, he gave me a cold glance. His eyes filled with disappointment. Zhu Kaiyang, let go of me. What right do you have to restrict my freedom of movement? The man was very strong and practically forced me to the hospital. Wang Tiantian was getting her stomach pumped at the hospital. Fu Huan was sobbing, her thin shoulders trembling, and Zhu Kaiyang gently patted her shoulder to comfort her. Such an intimate gesture, and they didn't even try to hide it from others. He hasn't even broken off the engagement with me yet. I could only sneer at the sight. What a despicable couple. Sister Shen, I don't know how I've offended you. She's my only daughter, the most precious thing in my life. Why would you do this to her? Poisonous hand. I just lost my husband. If anything happens to my daughter, I won't be able to go on living. Fu Huan looked at me with tearful eyes, her tone almost certain that I was the one who poisoned her daughter. I watched coldly, saying nothing. There's nothing to say to a fool. You're not saying anything, so you admit it. Shenjirue, I never thought you'd become this kind of person. You've let me down so much. I'm taking you to the police station right now. Zhu Kaiyang was furious. He never expected that his fiancée, who had always seemed gentle and sensible in his memory, could be so venomous. Intestine. Even if she was jealous of her fiancé's kindness to other women, she shouldn't have resorted to such despicable means to harm others. It seems it's really time to teach her a lesson. Zhu Kaiyang was determined to send me to prison to reflect on my actions, but he never expected that the police would arrive at the hospital first. Who called the police? It's me. Just now, I secretly asked a passing nurse to help find the police. I stepped past Zhu Kaiyang and pointed at the two of them, saying, they falsely accused me of poisoning someone and restricted my personal freedom. Let's go straight to the police station to talk. The child had their stomach pumped and is fine now. When she was taken to the police station, it was the first time she had seen such a serious situation, and she was so scared that she burst into tears. The police questioned her briefly, and the little girl couldn't handle the psychological pressure and confessed. She had run away from home on her own and mistakenly ate spoiled bread that someone had left in the yard. That innocent family, which was wrongfully implicated, was also met with a barrage of complaints at the police station. They insisted that they had clearly locked the main gate, so the blame shouldn't fall on them. At this moment, Zhu Kaiyang stepped forward, his expression grim and his eyes filled with guilt. I didn't know you were wronged, I'm sorry. Only then did he notice my wrist, which had become red and swollen from his violent tugging just moments before. He was about to take my hand to massage it. I immediately slapped him across the face. Zhu Kaiyang staggered from the force of my blow. Before I could even react, I gave Fu Huan another slap right beside me. You wronged me. These 2 slaps are my payback. What right do you have to slander and defame me without any evidence? Then I said to Fu Huan, if you don't teach your daughter not to steal food, who knows? She might eat herself to death one day. Encountering such a scene in broad daylight is really unlucky. Now I've missed the time to buy the train ticket. I went to the office to postpone my reporting date with the supervisor, then headed home. At the door, I saw 2 unexpected people again. It's Zhu Xiaoyuan and her homeroom teacher. Just as I was about to pretend I didn't see them and walk by, her homeroom teacher called out to me, Ms. Shun. Xiaoyuan has gotten into trouble at school again. What do you think? I sighed and said, Teacher Li, Zhu Xiaoyuan is Zhu Qian's biological sister, not mine. If anything happens to her in the future, you'd better go find her brother. Although Zhu Kaiyang and I are not married yet, we are close and have an engagement. Many matters in his family are handled by me by default. Yes, especially with Zhu Xiaoyuan, every time she causes trouble. I'm the one who goes to the school to clean up the mess. In my past life, I spent a lifetime acting as Zhu Xiaoyuan's nanny, yet I never received any gratitude and was constantly looked down upon by her. In this life, I will stay as far away as possible. I don't want to have anything to do with their family matters anymore. After saying that, I closed the door decisively, not giving them a chance to disturb me. I'll have to ask someone to check about the train tickets again tomorrow. Just in case someone returns theirs, the price is negotiable. In short, I want to leave this place as soon as possible. I slept until evening and was awakened by the sound of an argument outside. Opening the window, I saw Zhu Kaiyang and Fu Huan entangled in a dispute at the entrance of the alley. Brother Kaiyang, I think I should just leave. Sister Shen definitely has a problem with me, the way she hit me today. You saw it too. If I keep living here, who knows how much more I'll have to endure. I'd rather suffer a bit more hardship and exhaustion than put up with this humiliation. The woman held her child's hand, crying and shouting that she wanted to leave, yet her feet didn't move an inch. This didn't look like someone who was about to leave at all. Saying I was leaving was actually just a way to get Zhu Kaiyang to come find me and settle the score for that slap. Her tactic of retreating to advance was exactly the same as in her past life. Zhu Kaiyang grabbed her. Fu Huan, Jirue was just acting on impulse today. After all, we wronged her first. You're a woman with no job. Where can you go with a child? I promised Jianhua to take good care of you both, so just stay here peacefully. I'll talk to Jirue. I closed the curtains and continued packing my luggage. About an hour later, there was a knock on my door. At the door, Zhu Kaiyang held a bag of fruits, smiled at me, and called out to me, Jirue, I came to chat with you. He tried to step inside, but I blocked the doorway without giving an inch. Say whatever you have to say right here, I said coldly. After all, we're not married yet, a man and a woman alone in one room. It doesn't look good, under the moonlight. Zhu Qian's handsome face looked just as it always had, still bearing the red palm print I'd left that afternoon. He rubbed his forehead and sighed. Are you still angry that I brought Fu Huan and her daughter back? Zhu Kaiyang spoke with deep sincerity. Jirue, you're an educated intellectual. I thought you were the most reasonable. I retorted without holding back. Zhu Kaiyang, you're overthinking it. I've said it before. Your decisions have nothing to do with me. It seemed my cold demeanor had provoked him, and Zhu Kaiyang anxiously explained his purpose for coming. I've already sent them away. They won't disturb us anymore. Just a moment ago, you were trying to keep them by the roadside, and now you've sent them away. I raised an eyebrow, looking at him with some surprise. Zhu Kaiyang seemed to be showing me his determination. I understand that we are the ones who will be husband and wife in the future. What's the point of having two outsiders around for no reason? Don't worry, I'm not that confused yet. Now he's suddenly clear-headed. As if he wasn't the one who spent a lifetime worrying about them, mother and child, in his past life. Seeing my expression soften a little, Zhu Kaiyang paused for a moment before speaking. But after all, I must settle them completely to live up to Jianhua's trust. Jirue, can we postpone our wedding for now? Noticing the sarcastic glint in my eyes, he quickly explained, it's just a public cancellation. But it's actually a postponement. Don't worry, I will definitely marry you. But Fu Huan and her daughter have no one to rely on. Damn, they need a man to help them arrange a new life. Once I help her find a job, I'll completely stop interfering and come back. Marry you, okay, I know what he means. He wants to wholeheartedly help Fu Huan start a new life. But it's ultimately inappropriate for him, a man with no connection, to do it. Yes, especially since he is already engaged. If they get too close, back and forth, the gossip could be overwhelming. So he must first break off the engagement with me and cut ties with me, so that he can openly appear by their side and serve them diligently, attending to their every need. Zhu Kaiyang, you are as devoted to them as ever, loving them deeply across 2 lifetimes. He had prepared a whole basket of words to persuade me, but before he could utter the next sentence, he saw me nod lightly. All right. Zhu Kaiyang breathed a sigh of relief and said with relief, Jirue, I knew you were always reasonable and compassionate. I turned and went inside, took out a jade bracelet. It was carefully wrapped in cloth, placed in a jewelry box, and handed to Zhu Kaiyang. This is the jade bracelet your grandmother gave me, a token of the engagement between our families. I'm returning it to you, and you should return my mother's necklace to me. Go get it now. Zhu Kaiyang was speechless. There's no need for this, right? It's just pretending to cancel the engagement. We're still going to get married in the end. I laughed. If we're putting on a show, we have to do it thoroughly. What if one day my necklace is seen by outsiders at your place, and you tell everyone we're not getting married anymore? How would we explain that? It's better to return it to me. All right, I'll go get it. He agreed, watching his hurriedly departing figure. I couldn't quite describe the feeling in my heart. I want to shield her from the wind and rain. Yet I fear the gossip outside might hurt her. Zhu Kaiyang actually went this far for Fu Huan. It seems his love for Fu Huan is truly genuine. Thinking of my past life, I toiled for him at home my whole life, yet received little in return. I only feel bitterness and regret. How could I have wasted my entire life on him? How foolish I was. The next day, I went specifically to the alley entrance to chat with Aunt Shu, who had just returned from grocery shopping. I often tutor her grandson. So she smiles whenever she sees me and says, "Xiaoshen, going to see your fiancé." I quickly made a stop gesture. "Aunt, please don't say that. I've already called off the engagement with Zhu Kaiyang. Don't associate me with him anymore. From now on, I want to get married." Aunt Shu's expression suddenly turned serious. What happened? I just saw you preparing things for the wedding." I shook my head helplessly. Feelings are hard to explain. We just weren't meant to be. From now on, he can marry, and I can marry. We'll go our separate ways. I'm heading to work now. Goodbye, Auntie. Seeing me hurriedly walking away with my bag, Aunt Shu was still standing there, trying to process what had just happened. After a while, she muttered to herself, that mother and daughter are really something. They managed to coax the man into abandoning his fiancée as soon as they arrived. What a sin. I believe that within a day, the news of Zhu Kaiyang and I cancelling our marriage will spread throughout the neighborhood. Zhu Kaiyang thinks we have only temporarily called off the engagement. But I, Shenjirue, never look back. When I arrived at the office, I learned that the issue with the train tickets had been resolved. There are several comrades going to the countryside with me, and one of them is driving, so I can just catch a ride when the time comes. We'll be setting off in a few days. The comrade who's driving came to inform me and arranged the time and place for departure. I took out the money I had and tried to hand it to him, but he firmly refused. The man, named Meng Huai, smiled and said, "Comrade Shen, we're all here to contribute to rural development and serve our country. We're colleagues. We're comrades in arms, so it's too formal for you to take money." I felt a bit embarrassed and wanted to say a few more words of thanks. But a sharp voice interrupted our conversation. Shenjirue. I glanced sideways and saw that it was Fu Huan. Had she actually chased me all the way to my workplace? "Comrade Shen, I'll take my leave now. Please get ready as soon as possible." Meng Huai tactfully said his goodbyes. I can't imagine what Fu Huan came to see me for. Could it be to settle the score over that slap? She gritted her teeth at me. "Brother Kai Yang has driven us mother and daughter away. Are you happy now? We don't even have a place to stay, nowhere to go." Facing her aggressive behavior, I remained very calm. "It was him who drove you away, not me. Why are you yelling at me?" she shouted uncontrollably. "But it's because of you that he made us move out. I have already lost my husband, and now I have to rely on him. Why are you trying to wipe us out?" Seeing her hysterical state, I truly felt a bit sorry for her. As far as I know, Wang Jianhua has parents in the countryside. Although the family is poor, they still have a couple of acres of land. As long as they work hard at farming, they can manage to make ends meet without any problem. But she, Fu Huan, looked down on it. She didn't take her daughter back to her in-laws' home, who were related by blood, but instead clung to someone else's fiancé and refused to let go. His hold. It must be said that she succeeded in her previous life. She truly clung tightly to Zhu Kaiyang, this towering tree, allowing him to shelter her and her daughter from the wind and rain for a lifetime. But it was also because I had settled the Zhu family affairs for Zhu Kaiyang that he had the energy to protect them. Her so-called happy and blissful home was built by sucking the blood of both me and Zhu Kaiyang. I took out the necklace from my pocket and said to her, "Zhu Kaiyang and I called off our engagement last night." I even took back the engagement token, in an instant. Fu Huan's eyes lit up with surprise. "So, do you understand now who you should really be looking for?" I never intended to compete with her, because I've already suffered enough in my past life. These past few days, I've been busy packing and handing over work, so I haven't seen Zhu Kaiyang much. Life has been unusually peaceful for a few days. While taking stock of the items to take with me, I suddenly noticed the new shoes my mother had made for me, still placed in the wedding room I shared with Zhu Kaiyang. That new house had been prepared by his family long ago. In my previous life, I thought since we were about to get married anyway, so I placed the shoes my mother had made inside in advance. Those were the shoes my mother specially made for my wedding. I have to take them back. After all, my mother made them stitch by stitch, putting a lot of effort into them. There are 2 keys to the new house. one for me and one for Ju Kaiyang. I planned to put the keys on the living room table after getting my shoes, and then just let Ju Kaiyang know. Unexpectedly, it was quite a coincidence. The moment I opened the door, they were also in the new house. A lavish dinner was laid out on the table, steaming hot, with Ju Kaiyang, Ju Xiaoyuan, and Wang Tiantian all sitting together. It looks like we're going to have a meal together. Fu Huan brought out a bowl of soup from the kitchen, saying, Sister Shen is here. Perfect timing to eat together. She was beaming with joy, a completely different person from the day she came to me in a frenzy. It seems she has taken my advice to heart, realizing that the right approach is to please Ju Kaiyang and play the victim in front of him, and Ju Xiaoyuan was still cheerfully calling Fu Huan sister-in-law, as if she was deliberately saying it for me to hear. Fu Huan blushed and said shyly, You silly child, don't call me that. They seemed like a family. While I was the out-of-place outsider, Jirue, Ju Kaiyang stood up uneasily, bumping into the table leg and making a loud noise. He immediately tried to explain something, but I didn't give him a chance. I walked straight into the room and took out the shoes my mother had made from the cabinet. Then I placed the keys on the coffee table. I've left the key here. I glanced at the main bedroom, which was already filled with Fu Huan and her daughter's belongings. She had beaten me, the former mistress of the house, to claim the room's usage rights. I even kindly reminded Fu Huan, by the way, the windows in this new house aren't quite secure yet. When the wind blows at night, remember to use something to block it. Then, with a sense of fulfillment, he left. I hardly cared at all about Ju Kaiyang secretly settling them in the new house behind my back. I walked downstairs, and Ju Kaiyang hurriedly chased after me. Jirue, wait, listen to me. He was panting heavily. A rare sight indeed. The usually composed and orderly Ju Kaiyang was in such a hurry. I, being understanding, spoke for him. You don't need to say more. I understand everything. You just felt sorry for the mother and child, so you let them stay in our wedding home. It's because I didn't want to let down your brother's trust that I took care of everything for them myself. You're just being kind and righteous, thinking things through thoroughly, and had no choice but to break off our engagement temporarily for their sake. Ju Kaiyang was speechless. All of these were the words he used to shut me up in our previous life. He wanted to see some trace of anger beneath my calm exterior, but all I showed him was an indifferent aloofness, as if it had nothing to do with me. Apart from that, there was nothing. Ju Kaiyang had originally been afraid that I would be angry, but now he was even more afraid that I wouldn't be. It seemed he couldn't find even the slightest trace of my care for him anymore. They are just staying here temporarily and will move out later. Once I get them settled, we will get married. I don't know if he was saying it for me to hear or for himself. We will definitely get married. But now, I don't even have the patience to hear him finish speaking. I only know that I can leave here tomorrow afternoon. What awaits me is a new life without them. In the middle of the night, it started drizzling outside. Amid the pitter-patter of the rain, I faintly heard the sound of a door opening. My heart tightened, and I immediately got up, grabbing the stick by the bedside. Someone had entered the side bedroom and made a noise as they collapsed onto the bed. Once I saw who it was, I breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be Ju Xiaoyuan. She often comes back in the middle of the night when she's on vacation. She probably avoids going to her brother's place because she's afraid of being scolded. After all, Ju Kaiyang is a rigid man who follows the rules. If he found out his sister often stays out all night, he would definitely be furious and give her a good lesson. Compared to the strict older brother, I, as her future sister-in-law, became her safe haven. Whenever Ju Xiaoyuan got into trouble, she wouldn't even tell her parents, only daring to come to me, because I would handle everything for her out of consideration for Ju Kaiyang, not even saying a harsh word to her. This time, she must have been out having fun with her classmates again, so tired that she fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. I sighed and fished my house keys out of her clothes. This house is my uncle and aunt's old place. They kindly let me live here because it's close to my workplace, so they didn't sell it. The main reason I chose to live here is because it's close to Ju Qian's home. After I leave, I'll write to my uncle and ask them to clean out the house. By then, Ju Xiaoyuan won't be able to get in either. Forget it, let her sleep one last night, in the dim light. I cautiously noticed that Ju Xiaoyuan's face was unusually flushed. She had been caught in the rain and looked very unwell. A touch of her forehead confirmed it. She was running a high fever. I immediately felt it was a tricky situation. Looking out the window, the rain was pouring down, making it impossible to go out. I quickly put on my raincoat and went to knock on Ju Qian's door. Ju Kaiyang, your sister has a fever. Take her to the hospital quickly. I knocked for several minutes in a row, and the back of my hand turned red from slapping the door. No response. The neighbor Uncle Li, however, poked his head out. Xiaoshen, looking for Kaiyang. He went out in the evening saying he needed to fix the windows at the new house. He hasn't come back yet. My heart sank to the bottom. I had thought that since Ju Kaiyang had a car, he could take his sister to the hospital, but he went to the marital home to fix the windows for Fu Huan and her daughter. With such heavy rain, he must have stayed there for the night. What about Ju Xiaoyuan? I went back inside wearing my raincoat. Thunder rumbled outside, and raindrops as big as beans poured down relentlessly. The rain was so heavy that going to the hospital was simply impossible. Moreover, with my strength, I couldn't possibly drag Ju Xiaoyuan, a teenage girl. Left with no other choice, I had to fetch a basin of water to cool her down and wipe her body. Then I gave her a fever-reducing pill. I stayed by her bedside, taking care of her for half the night, and only dozed off at the head of the bed after her temperature dropped. The next day I woke up, the bed was messy, and Ju Xiaoyuan was already gone. It seems she regained her strength and left. I looked at the clock, and it was almost noon, 12 o'clock. I still had a few hours before my departure. I cooked a bowl of noodles, had a couple of bites casually, and planned to buy some dry provisions on the street later for the journey. Unexpectedly, Ju Kaiyang blocked my way. He looked displeased and confronted me with accusations. Did Xiaoyuan have a fever at your place last night? I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. He looked at me in disbelief. Then why didn't you take her to the hospital? Judging by his shocked expression, it was as if I had committed some unforgivable crime. I was so angry I almost laughed. It was pouring rain. I didn't have a car. It was the middle of the night. The water was rising, and no one would answer my calls for help. How do I take her to the hospital? Then you shouldn't just leave her alone. He seemed very disappointed in me, and his scolding words came out effortlessly. Seeing his self-righteous attitude, I really wanted to slap him. She's your sister, not mine. I went to look for you last night, knocked on the door until it nearly broke, and still couldn't find you. Now you know to worry. Where the hell were you when your sister had a high fever? The man immediately felt guilty, his words stuck in his throat. Unable to say anything for a long time, I glared at him coldly. This sanctimonious hypocrite. Uncle Li said you were busy fixing the windows of the new house. You didn't fix them earlier or later, but only when Fu Huan moved in. What are you trying to? It's raining. Are you afraid that the mother and daughter will be exposed to the wind and rain? You don't care about your own sister properly, yet you're overly concerned with other people's wives and daughters. Now that something has happened to your sister, you come to me to vent your frustration. Teacher, you're accusing the wrong person. Get this straight. We called off the engagement a long time ago. We have absolutely no connection anymore. So why on earth should I be rushing to take care of your sister? Hey there. Besides, last night, I not only wiped her body to reduce her fever but also gave her medicine. I did everything I should have done. How come, in your words, I've become a cold-blooded creature who stood by and did nothing? You're really pinning such a huge accusation on me. Before blaming others, take a look at what you've actually done. Have you fulfilled your responsibility as an older brother? My face was filled with indignation as I poured out all my grievances in one breath. Over the years since the engagement, you've often been away from home. Who do you think has been handling all those messy matters of yours? You can't be clueless about it. Can you? You left your sister to stay with me, and she keeps causing trouble at school every other day. I'm the one who has to clean up after her, bowing and apologizing to the other students' parents, worrying about her studies and daily life. As an unmarried sister-in-law, I've done more than enough, haven't I? How could you take my efforts for granted? Am I Ju Xiaoyuan's birth mother or what? That day, didn't she call me sister-in-law Fu Huan? Then you should have her take care of Ju Xiaoyuan. All of you Jews, get away from me. I don't want to deal with your mess anymore. After saying that, I pushed him away fiercely. I quickly walked away from there. Ju Kaiyang called out to me loudly from behind, Zhirue, but I didn't respond. I just felt disgusted. When I returned, Ju Kaiyang was still at my doorstep. From a distance, I could see him pacing back and forth. seemingly very anxious. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. Jirue, you're back. He quickly took out the prepared marriage application. Jirue, I was wrong. Let's get married right away. Okay, I'll go submit the marriage application now. The big argument just now made Ju Qian's heart sink. He had never seen Shinjirue look at him with such hatred, as if she really wanted to sever all ties with him. Ju Kaiyang began to panic. He had never imagined losing Jirue, nor did he want to lose her. Perhaps I've been taking care of Fu Huan and her daughter too much lately, making her feel insecure. As long as we get married, everything will be fine. Once we're married, she'll be mine, and we can take care of Fu Huan and her daughter together. That way, I won't be letting Jianhua down. I snorted coldly, pushed him away, and opened the door to get my luggage. Jirue, seeing that I was ignoring him, Ju Kaiyang grew even more anxious. He, who is usually so proper, actually hugged me right at the door. Let's get married. Okay, I truly want to spend the rest of my life with you. I know Xiaoyuan's matter hurt you, and you can hit or scold me. I'm doing well, just don't leave me. Jirue, I was just thinking about how to get rid of him when Fu Huan arrived. She was carrying the child all the way, her hair disheveled by the wind, in a frantic and hurried manner. Brother Kaiyang, what should I do? Tian has another stomachache from eating something bad. Brother Kaiyang, please take us to the hospital quickly. Ju Qian's hand, which was holding mine, trembled slightly. I knew very well that he was struggling inside. I let out a silent, cold laugh and patted the back of his hand as if to comfort him. Go ahead, a life is at stake. After all, she's just a child. Seeing how generous I was, Ju Kaiyang breathed a sigh of relief and quickly took the child from Fu Huan's hands. He said to me firmly, wait for me to come back from the hospital, and I'll go submit the marriage report. Wait for me, I said. How about you give me the marriage report first, and I'll go to your unit to wait for you. Alright. Ju Kaiyang didn't notice anything unusual and trustingly handed me that piece of paper, without a trace of doubt. After watching them walk away, I brought out my luggage from the house. Soon, the car that was picking me up arrived at the intersection. Meng Huai and the others waved to me. Comrade Shen, let's go. I responded and quickly picked up my pace, carrying my luggage as I hurried over. Before getting on the car, I paused for a moment, tore up the marriage report in my hand, and casually tossed it into the grass by the roadside, stepping on a small piece of the torn paper that had fallen to the ground. I got on the car and left without looking back. Wang Tiantian is fine. It was Fu Huan who told her to pretend to have a stomachache. It's just because she saw Ju Kaiyang go back to file the marriage report. She was afraid that if we really got married, she would have no chance. That's why she came up with this trick. By the time Ju Kaiyang rushed to the hospital with the child in a panic, registering, queuing, seeing the doctor, what a hassle. Only to be exposed by the doctor in the end. Ju Kaiyang was furious. Fu Huan, you're so immature, how could you make the child lie with you? He tried to leave, but Fu Huan clung to him desperately, refusing to let go. Brother Kaiyang, what if you get married and abandon us? You're all I have now. All eyes turned towards them, and Ju Kaiyang felt as if needles were pricking his back. He quickly said, let go of me quickly, I'm still engaged. Fu Huan screamed, no, you already broke off the engagement. Shinjirue told me herself, and she doesn't even want to marry you. I even went to her workplace to ask around. She's been sent to the countryside for 3 years and won't be coming back. What? Ju Kaiyang was as if struck by lightning, his ears ringing. Is Jirue leaving? Ju Kaiyang pushed the woman away with a snap and desperately rushed back. All along the way, his mind was in a daze. And only then did he belatedly realize my recent unusual behavior. It turns out I wasn't unangry or unjealous. I was just so deeply hurt that I had become utterly disappointed in him. He came back late, and my house was tightly shut, with no sign of anyone around. Only then did Ju Kaiyang realize that I had truly left, right after our big argument. He sat dejectedly at the door, as if he had lost the whole world. The wind rose from all directions, swirling with fallen leaves, and swept before him. Ju Kaiyang, sharp-eyed, noticed a familiar piece of paper among the pile of leaves. Picking it up, it turned out to be the marriage report he had given me. Now, it's turned into confetti. He trembled all over, then weakly lowered his hand. Ju Kaiyang finally understood that it seemed he had lost me forever. Sometimes one can't help but sigh. Fate is a matter of a single moment. wrong things will eventually be set right by fate. For instance, letting me be reborn back to 1 month before I married Ju Kaiyang, or, for example, bringing the right person to my side. After nearly a year in the countryside, I wrote to my parents to tell them that I had met my sweetheart here, Meng Huai. Through our time together, I found him to be an upright and morally excellent person, practical and kind-hearted. This was evident from the very beginning. Like when he refused to take my fare, you could tell at a glance. At work, we worked together to overcome many difficulties, and over time, we developed a mutual attraction. Last month, we went back home together, met each other's parents, and got engaged, all in one go. Back then, after I retrieved the token from Ju Kaiyang, I immediately wrote to my parents to inform them. They didn't say much. In fact, they were never very satisfied with the Ju family to begin with, because they felt the family dynamics were too complicated. If I married into it, I would inevitably have a lot to worry about, especially the Ju parents. They're not easy to get along with, sharp-tongued. And just by their looks, you can tell they'd make life difficult for a daughter-in-law. So they didn't blame me for calling off the engagement. When Meng Huai came to pick me up for dinner, he also brought a bouquet of camellias. I sat in the back seat of his car, surrounded by the sweet fragrance. We passed a few fellow villagers, and they didn't hesitate to compliment us on how well-matched we were. As the voices grew louder, I lowered my head a little shyly, amidst a chorus of praise. One voice stood out as untimely, Jirue. Ju Qian's voice trembled as he saw me sitting on the back seat of a man's vehicle, his face instantly turning pale. My smile vanished immediately, and I said coldly, "What are you here for?" He tremblingly pulled out the torn marriage report from his chest. "Why did you leave without a word? I've been waiting for you to come back and get married. It's been a year, and only now does he show up. The child is dead, and only now does he come to nurse." Meng Huai shielded me behind him, his tall figure radiating a strong sense of security. "Sorry, but Jirue is my fiancée now, and she will only marry me in the future." A fellow villager came to help us fend off his pestering. I sat on Meng Huai's bicycle, moving farther and farther away, barely able to make out Ju Kaiyang, trying to chase after us but being held back by someone. He called out to me loudly, but I ignored him. I once cried and begged him to leave Fu Huan and her daughter alone, but did he listen? What goes around comes around. He brought this on himself. Ju Kaiyang still couldn't believe that Shinjirue no longer loved him. They were childhood sweethearts, and he had always known that Jirue had a crush on him since they were young. The admiration in the girl's eyes, like the glow of stars, was impossible to hide. He didn't want to let her down, but he couldn't ignore his friend's request either. Once he had settled Fu Huan and her mother, once he had resolved these matters, he would go back and marry her. But when will that be? Fu Huan always needs him. Fu Huan can never do without him. Perhaps he was too confident, certain that Ji Rui would never leave him, which is why he repeatedly tested her patience. Finally, after driving her away, he panicked, but it was already too late. Fu Huan used the child and then used himself, deliberately letting the neighbors see them pulling and tugging, and repeatedly went to his workplace without permission. Delivering meals as a unit, with an ambiguous attitude, leads to misunderstandings among colleagues. She wants to be completely bound to Ju Kaiyang. Human hearts are unpredictable. Only by marrying him and legally binding their relationship can she feel secure. Only then can one secure a lifetime of happiness. But Ju Kaiyang was unwilling. He had only agreed to Jianhua to help take care of her. He understood the principle that one should not covet a friend's wife, so he desperately tried to explain to outsiders that there was no affair between them. But with Fu Huan around, no woman was willing to marry him. Ju's parents grew anxious and found fault with Fu Huan in every way, living under the same roof. Their days were filled with chaos and constant arguments. Ju Kaiyang just felt mentally exhausted. Originally, these things were enough to give him a headache. But his sister was so mischievous and willful, often causing trouble, with classmates' parents and teachers frequently. He often comes to the house to settle accounts. Ju Kaiyang not only takes care of his sick parents but also handles matters for Fu Huan and her daughter, and on top of that, he often has to deal with the troubles caused by Ju Xiao. After the incident with Yuan Shan, he was running between the hospital, home, and school, stretched thin and utterly exhausted. Finally, when Fu Huan and Ju Xiaoyuan once again argued over who should get new clothes with his money this month, He snapped and couldn't help but overturn the table. He yelled at Fu Huan, "I'm not your husband. Taking care of you is a favor, not an obligation. What right do you have to scheme over my money?" He scolded Zhu Xiaoyuan again. "You can't even continue your studies, so why are you buying new clothes? How many times have you gone to take care of mom and dad in the hospital? If you're like this, you might as well drop out and start working early." Fu Huan didn't dare to speak. Zhu Xiaoyuan was sobbing, pointing at Fu Huan and her mother, saying, "Who told you to bring these jinxes home? If it weren't for them, Sister Jirue would have married you long ago. She used her own money to buy me clothes without hesitation, and you're not even as good to me as an outsider." After saying this, she ran out of the door crying. Zhu Kaiyang stood inside the house, looking utterly dejected. His eyes gazed blankly in the direction of my home, where the house had long been cleared out by my uncle and sold to someone else. If he hadn't lost Jirue, they would surely be very happy now. They wouldn't be living such a messy, chaotic life as they are now. My parents weren't well taken care of, my sister wasn't properly educated, and my career has been stagnant due to family trivialities. I often had to advance my salary multiple times because of the large family size and high expenses. My supervisor was very dissatisfied with me, and even a well-meaning colleague told me that I was on the supervisor's list for layoffs. By then, where would the expenses for this large family come from? Zhu Kaiyang was filled with regret, wishing he had never agreed to his friend's request and rashly promised to take care of his wife and daughter. In the end, it ended up ruining his entire life. If he could have another chance, unfortunately, there are no IFS in this world. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.